The 3 R's on today's show are respect, reverence, and relevance. Please join us for our Remembrance Day Express Special. On today's show.
Well, basically the Remember Project is to take our older generation and the public and school kids and put them all together and give them an opportunity to experience a little living history at the museum here.
The Remember Project in Chilliwack. The ceremony at the new Westminster Cenotaph.
We, the second and third generations.
A Remembrance Day assembly at an Abbotsford middle school.
Mothers are crying for their sick children.
Now this day
and later, war veteran Rolly Keith.
I try to get today's children to understand that the country we live in is a much different country than it could have been.
You're watching our Express Remembrance Day Special. Every year on November 11th, Canadians pause in a silent remembrance of those who have served and continue to serve our country in times of war, conflict, and peace. Today on the Express, we honor with silence and with words, starting with the ceremony at the Vancouver Cenotaph.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row.
They are the words that define a generation, and some of the men and women who lived them, fought and lost friends, are here at Victory Square today to remember.
Oh, today I'm thinking of many of the friends that I've lost. And I think about those. Think about them many times during the year, especially today.
World War II vet Ted Paxton served in the Canadian Navy. He fought on D-Day and helped Canada win a major victory at sea.
Churchill called it one of the major destroyer battles of the Second World War.
These young soldiers of the 1st Canadian
I jump out of airplanes with one chute at nighttime.
Herbert Lim left his studies at UBC to join the Army as a paratrooper.
Had to do the right thing, whatever. I don't think it was so much patriotism as it was to do the right thing.
Alongside the veterans of wars past is a new generation of Canadian vets who served in Afghanistan, including Sean Laux, who did 2 tours of duty there.
I'm thinking of guys and girls over there. A lot of the friends that I have lost over there as well, and their families I'm thinking about.
Sean says he now shares a special bond with all Canadian veterans.
You know, they see me and, you know, they just kind of light up. It's, you know, when I'm saying thank you and they know that I really mean it and I understand.
And while most of us will never truly understand, the thousands of Canadians here today and across the country will never forget the men and women who fought and those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
When you go home, tell them of us, for your tomorrow who gave our today.
I'm Bianca Solterbeck in Vancouver for the Express.
The Vancouver Remembrance Day ceremony is one of the biggest in the Lower Mainland. Later on the show, we'll visit the new Westminster Cenotaph. But right now from the Fraser Valley, it's an interactive exhibit called the Remember Project, with a goal to educate and honor.
Canada went into World War I because the British Empire went to war.
Well, basically the Remember Project is to take our older generation and the public and school kids and put them all together and give them an opportunity to experience a little living history at the museum here and hopefully make the public and our next generation think a little bit about the sacrifices made by our Canadian soldiers today and in years before. Well, basically it's a chance for kids to come in, and this is a unique museum. It's probably one of the largest in Western Canada, and the big thing is a lot of the equipment is available for them to see and touch.
Whoa, what is this exactly?
Well, this is a turret from a Ferret armored car, and they would have been used by the Canadian Army as a light reconnaissance car in the 50s right up to the 80s. We put this together for kids. They can get in it and try it around. It's kind of a neat effect, and it can show you how encroached it was for the soldiers to operate in a little turret like that.
And they mobilized their armies and they went to war. Well, this is the Canadian Military Education Centre Museum. Our aim is to not only display and let people have the opportunity to come and see things that we think are very significant to Canada's past and development, but also to give a little chance to educate them, perhaps, in better understanding the service and the sacrifice of Canadians over the last century that has made Canada the prosperous and fairly free country that we have.
So when would this ambulance have been used?
This is pretty much a 1950s Dodge, very similar to the World War II Dodge, but WC series, and it was an ambulance obviously to get troops from the front line back to mobile army surgical hospitals like a MASH really quickly. As you always hear about the troops fighting and everything, behind the lines obviously were all the people that kept the army going.
So I try to get today's children to understand that the country we live in is a much different country than it could have been if things had gone differently, and that they should respect and honor the service and the sacrifice.
As you heard, one of the important parts of the Remember Project is giving kids the opportunity to speak to veterans. And we're going to talk more with Rolly Keith later in the show about his over 35 years with the Canadian military. Right now, we're off to one of the more historically important cities in Metro Vancouver, New Westminster, the original capital of BC.
The very notion of the poppy was born, as many of you will know, on the Flanders fields. But it has come to now represent something much wider. It has come to represent those we have lost and those who have fallen in the subsequent years.
Short as the watch that ends the night, dies at the opening day.
We remember those who stood tall for freedom. We honor these heroes, these architects of liberty.
It makes me feel proud to know that there is a lot of people that has a lot of courage to go out there in the world and represent other people and represent Canada overall.
Well, I was in the army in 1939 in Holland, and we fought the Germans, and then we were on the way to England, but we got bombed so bad, so in France we became prisoner of war. Now we got, well, I lost a couple of friends during the war too, and I always loved that the Canadians had to help us. We couldn't handle at that time.
I don't think people really realize what World War II is all about. You know, it's surprising the number of people that really have no idea what it was like.
So whether you had relatives fighting on one side or the other, and I've had relatives on both during World War II, I think it's important to remember what they did, what they sacrificed, and to make sure we don't make the same mistakes.
You're watching The Express, and we'll have more from Metro Vancouver and the Fraser Valley on how we've honored the more than 1,500,000 Canadians that have served our country in the Canadian military and the more than 100,000 that have died. those that gave their lives and their futures so that we can live in peace.
After the break, Remembrance Day ceremonies from Vancouver's Chief McQuina Elementary.
We have the freedom to say what we want, and we want peace.
I could hear echoes of people yelling, bombs going off.
And Abbotsford's Eugene Reimer Middle School. You're watching our Express Remembrance Day Special.